testimony night. When this whole crisis hit, we decided to offer different pieces of church life online so that not just the people that attend our church could benefit and grow, but that all people could. So it's been really exciting to see how many of you have been joining us online. And tonight we've got a very, very special guest. She's a little bit country and I'm a little bit rock and roll. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and so I'm from the big city, but my beautiful wife, Amy Burgess,
Hi.
is, she's from the country. Let's just say that. So from West Unity, Ohio, and spent most of her life there. Comes from a wonderful family in West Unity, and the Lord has done great things in her life, and she's been an absolute blessing to me. And I can't even say that enough, what a blessing she is. And she's a real blessing to our church, and I'm just really proud to introduce her. So, Amy Burgess. Yay.
Hi, thank you for having me.
All right.
Okay.
Some questions. Amy, could you tell us about your childhood? What was your childhood like? You grew up in West Unity. Yeah. How many stoplights are there in West Unity?
One.
And
it's always red for me. Yes, one stoplight, 2,000 people, a great community. I went all through school and high school there, and I know most everybody, and it was really nice to be there. I really enjoyed living there.
Okay, so tell us about your family.
My family, I have a younger brother, John, and a younger sister, Shannon. She's in Florida right now, and my brother is in Toledo. I grew up, my dad, Kendall, my mom, Carol, and had a really great childhood. I had wonderful grandparents and a beautiful home, and I was really blessed.
Okay, so could you tell us about some significant events that took place during your upbringing? I know it's when I went to West Unity, it seemed like it was like Mayberry. I mean, it was like Mayberry, Ohio, and they have these parades with the fire trucks and all that. It was really
fire trucks and more fire trucks and tractors and more fire trucks.
Yeah, it was.
And a horse.
It was really something.
Yeah.
But I know that there were a lot of significant things that happened in your life. You grew up in a tight-knit community.
Yes.
But that didn't. Well, you grew up in a family of faith, in a home of faith. Could you talk a little bit about your faith as a child?
Well, we always were in church. My mom was very faithful. My dad grew up in church. My mom was in church, and I said we've been to every kind of church. I know we did Baptist, we did Methodist, we did Assembly of God. So we were always in VBS and youth group, and I was very connected to the church community. So I've always had faith growing up.
And I know you've talked about the impact that your mom's faith had on you.
Yeah.
Could you talk about your mom a little bit?
My mom a little bit. I think it's funny because whenever I mention my mom on Facebook or on a post, I'm always told how just fun she was, how wonderful, how caring. I know she brought a lot of joy to people. And so, when I was younger, when I was about 14, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And she was at her point in her faith where she really relied on being healed for the cancer. And I remember growing up with that, or just it was, she didn't have cancer for a long period of time, but it really impacted our home, because I remember just what she went through. She had a very large tumor, and I remember her changing bandages and smell of the cancer, and just what she had to go through. And when you're a kid, you don't think about life and death as much, and especially because she had such a faith for her healing, we weren't really exposed to the possibility of her ever dying. I think we always believed that she would be healed and come out of it. And I remember her taking pictures of the tumors for before and after, so that when she got her healing, she could show that as a testimony of what she had came through, but it just was not. That's not what happened, and she, I know, is healed in heaven, but she was not healed here, and so that was a very difficult time. Especially, I was 15 when I lost her, and I had a younger brother and sister, and people don't realize the impact a mother has until they're not there anymore, and so it was tough. It was very tough.
I know that the prayers that your mom prayed as you were growing up and the influence she had with her faith on you made you stay in the ways of the Lord for most of your life. Yeah,
I definitely think her prayers sustained us when she wasn't there anymore, because my dad was a truck driver. He traveled on the road a lot, and we could have gotten in so much trouble and made bad decisions. Not that, of course, we're typical teenagers, me, my brother and sister, but I think we all turned out pretty well considering, not having our mother around. So I think it was like, I look back now because I'm like, just having those opportunities, we had to do whatever we wanted, but we generally stayed in the good graces, I'd like to think, but it was definitely her prayers that kept us, I think, where we're all at now. So,
and with what you went through, it's my perception is that many of the important things of being a mom were planted in you at an early age, and you've carried that on. One of the things you talk about are the prayers that your mom prayed for you, and you are a woman of great prayer. Could you talk about how important is prayer in your life, and maybe as a mom praying for her children? How would you encourage moms and grandmas?
Well, I guess first I want to talk on, I think, how going through that influenced my faith, and just I'm not going to say, it's like while she was going through this, I didn't have a great prayer life. I think my faith was built on, my faith was what my mom's faith was, or, as a kid, I really probably didn't pray a lot. I don't even remember praying when she was going through this, which now I pray about everything because I've seen the Lord, how he works through prayer. But I did go through a battle at that time about wondering if my faith was really tested in that time, which I think a lot of my family members' faith was tested in that time, because when somebody has such a strong faith and they are praying for healing and it doesn't happen here, you wonder, I think your faith is really tested on why your thoughts go to, why would God take a mom? Why would God do that? Why didn't he show up? And so my faith was really tested at the time, especially at 15. You don't understand, especially when that's all you're told during that whole time, is that this is going to happen, and it doesn't. And I just remember going through all that, just, being told over and over that she's going to be healed, and then she's not. And just, it's our new reality. It's like, so I think I had to find God for myself, and I wouldn't say I had a super strong faith, but I did have a faith. And then it just progressed as life-changing events happened, and God was the only person I had to count on. My faith really was tested and grew, and I saw him for who he really is.
Okay, and then you had trouble having your own children.
Yeah.
And
I was mad. I was mad. I was irritated with Jesus. A little mad. Yeah.
Because you lost your mom.
Right.
You wanted to have children of your own.
Right.
Could you tell us about that a little bit?
Well, first I want you to know that God's okay when you're mad at him, because him and I have gone around a few times. So for me, family is super important. And when I lost my mom, I felt like my whole family dynamic had kind of fallen apart, and that was my security and my comfort. And so I got married at 21, and my first priority is I wanted to have a family. I wanted to create a family. I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to fill that void. And so right after I got married, I did get pregnant right away. And I remember, I think I was pregnant. I found out on my birthday, and then I started bleeding. And I remember I was at my grandma Traxler's house, and she said, well, you're losing this baby. And it was just devastating for me because I thought, I've already been through so much. Why is this happening in my life? And so I lost that pregnancy, and I went on to lose 10 more pregnancies. And it got to the point where I wasn't even excited anymore. And at this time I worked at a daycare center, so I was around babies all the time. And I just remember saying to God, you took my mom, and now you won't even make me a mom. And I was so mad and just frustrated. And I went to a specialist who said that my eggs were too small. They did an ultrasound and said that they were 25% of the size of normal eggs. And so while I was getting pregnant, I just couldn't sustain a pregnancy. And that was heartbreaking to hear because I didn't know if I'd ever have children. So
that's very real.
Yeah.
Could you tell us what took place that changed that? God heard your prayers.
Yes.
And answered miraculously.
Yeah. I went to at our church service, we had, I don't know how often they were, but we had a healing prayer service, and I went up for prayer because we were just desperate at that time. And I was up, and our pastor had prayed for us, but my husband at the time, it was just for us, it was such an emotional thing to go through. And he just prayed, and he just poured his heart out. And it was sometimes I think those are the best prayers and they're the hardest prayers. But just when you're grieving and you're just, what do you call lamentation? When you're just pouring out your heart and crying, and just, you're at the end of yourself. You have nothing else that you can do. And anyway, so there's a bunch of us lined up for this prayer meeting, and I had my eyes closed and praying. And I want to tell you, at this time, my faith was still, it's like I heard about God like most people. You hear about God, you hear the stories, but God is just, okay, it's a nice thought. It's not real. And I don't even want to say it's not real, but just he hasn't impacted your life in such a solid way that it's super real to you. So I was praying and hoping. And there's this line of people beside me, and we're all praying, and my eyes are closed, and I feel this like intense heat in front of me, like a fire is what I would say, a bonfire. And so my eyes are closed, and I'm feeling this heat, and I open my eyes like, oh my gosh, the church is on fire. And you
literally thought
I really thought
there was a fire in the church.
Yeah, and I was looking at the people next to me like, oh my gosh, doesn't anybody feel that? And everybody's heads are still bowed, so I closed my eyes again, and it was the same thing. I just felt like right in front of me, like there's this super hot warmth, and I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. And I closed my eyes again, I opened them again, and it finally dawned on me, it's like, maybe I'm being healed. Maybe this is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And I hadn't heard, that there's heat involved. I didn't know, but I just know what I felt. It was very real. And so I didn't say anything to anyone. And then the next month is when I got pregnant with my first daughter. And it was a great pregnancy. It was a healthy pregnancy. Everything went well. And oh, yeah, I got the pictures. It was this daughter, Allison. Where is she? That one. Number 1, Valentine's Day.
Look at that, would you?
96. That was after 4 years and 10 miscarriages.
And look at those beautiful young women.
Can you see that?
Wow.
Yeah, so I ended up being blessed with 4 beautiful daughters. We thought we were going to have 2. And then the 3 was like a bonus. And then the 4th one was just like, the Lord's like, hey, I'm on a roll. I didn't know that I was going to have 4 of them.
Well, when he does things, he does them right, doesn't he?
Yeah, so I'm really thankful. 4 beautiful girls, and
they are
they're
awesome
miracles,
young
and it's a
ladies.
testimony to healing. So when people say, it's funny because I had this moment with the Lord, and He said, I didn't heal your mom the way that you probably expected me to hear, but I healed you to make you a mom so that you would know I heal.
How powerful is that?
And so when people say, how do you say after losing your mom that the Lord doesn't heal? It's like, well, He does. And I know my mom is fully healed and restored. And I said I wouldn't cry. And she's there. And she's in heaven. And I'm thankful for her relationship with the Lord, because of my relationship with the Lord. I'll see her again. And she's taking care of a ton of her grandkids up in heaven, because I know that they're up there with her. I believe every child is precious and is knit in the womb and is intentional. And that's why I have such a heart for the unborn too, because every time I was pregnant, I would think, is this my son? Is this my daughter? Do they have blue eyes, brown eyes? Who are they going to be? Every time I was pregnant, I would think about the possibility. And so I know they're up there. I'm wondering if I have a son, since I have 4 daughters, there has to be one in the mix. I don't know, there might be all girls up there, I don't know. But, at times I wanted to run away from the Lord because I was so angry. But I also knew that was my only hope. If I wanted to see my mom again, that relationship you have a choice in anything that you do. You can either choose, I could have chose the path of running away and
rebellion.
Yeah, rebellion. Or I could choose to take that moment and learn and draw closer in my faith and have Him shape that. And because of that, I've had a chance to talk with people about infertility, about healing, about loss. And I've used that testimony for His glory, because what the enemy would want me to do is run. And I see so many people doing that, or so many people blaming God. I have friends that have lost children, or friends that have been through horrible abuse, and they blame God, but God is a loving God. It's the enemy that comes to kill, steal, and destroy. It's not God, and unfortunately he has so much power here through our prayers, but heaven is where this perfection. Here, unfortunately, it's not.
Right. So He said, I didn't heal your mom, but I healed you to be a mom.
Yeah.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord, for that.
Yeah.
I know that God has done a lot of things in your life and provided for you in some pretty challenging times in your life.
Yeah.
And He's always come through. In this coronavirus crisis, there's a lot of stress on people. There's a lot of people are wondering what's coming next. Am I going to have a job? Are they going to pass this bill? Are we going to have money? Are we going to be okay? Is everything going to be all right? And you've been in places like that, haven't you, hon?
Yeah.
And could you tell us?
I was reading my. Everybody's commenting. I love you. I do have the best friends. I'm just gonna say, I have the best support group and friends. And I just want you to know, I was kind of chicken to do this, because when you're stuck in coronavirus, like, I have gray hairs because I can't get to the hairdresser, and I know he's like, but I love you guys, and I love the Lord, and I wanted people to hear my story, because I know there's a lot of people that are just going through tough times. And so do you have anything you could tell them about when you went through times where you weren't sure you were going to make it, and how God there's a
answered
time.
your prayers?
Yeah, I was I was on my own for a while, and a lot of the struggle when you're a single parent. I had 4 daughters, and trying to figure out how I was going to pay bills and take care of things. And I made the move. I'd moved from Pioneer to West Unity. I went back to my hometown. I'd lived like 20 minutes away and wanted to go back to where I grew up. And I remember I did preschool daycare at that time. So I was having to move a business and figure out where I was going to go. And on what kind of money. And I remember somebody asked me, how do you think you're even going to do this? And I said, I got to trust in the Lord. And that day I put up on Facebook and asked about if anybody had a place to live. And a few minutes later, one of my ex-classmates had contacted me, had this beautiful home that he had just redone, $400 a month, which is unheard of, and big enough for me and the kids and for me to do my business, and I could move in ASAP. And just every time I had a need, and it's not to say I didn't struggle. I mean, I remember when I first was on my own and not being able to pay the electric or not having food and having to reach out and humble myself. And it was really, I mean, we lived on ramen noodles for a little while. I had nothing. And so I moved, and, I was self-employed, so always worrying about money. Every time I asked the Lord, or I need help. I mean, I remember one time I was doing dishes, and like, Lord, I had a family that had left. I need to make up for this money. As soon as I was done praying, I got a message from somebody wanting a full-time spot. I mean, like, it happened every time. And by the time before we got married, I mean, I was doing really well. I have always had great parents that have helped me, just solid families. I've had the best families that I've worked for, and I'm so thankful for them. And, he always took care of me. And sometimes our prayers aren't answered the way we think they are, so we think that the Lord isn't listening, but he listens and he wants to answer those, and sometimes he shows up in his way.
Yes.
But he shows up and he loves you. I guess that's what I really want to say is he loves you. I'm surprised when people say God's not real. You can't take my testimony away from me. I know he's real. I have no doubt he's real, and when you pray, he does answer, and he does provide, and he does love you. So, okay.
All right. Could you talk about the process of becoming a pastor's wife?
What do you want to know?
Didn't.
I just said I was with.
Was that something you wanted to do, or?
Well, my best friend Chrissy. Shout out to Chrissy. She had said back in Vacation Bible School, when we were little kids, I turned to her and said, someday I'm going to be a pastor's wife. And she remembered that. And, I've always had a heart for the Lord. The Lord's always laid on my heart that I would have some kind of ministry. And I was just with Chrissy and Gail last week or so. And I told him, I said, I am the most unpastory pastor's wife that there is, because I always that's an Amy word, an Amyism. Yeah, lots of those. I've always seen pastors' wives as just perfect, and that they've had a wonderful life, and they're just like next to the angels. No. And I'm not. I've made bad choices. Sometimes I look at it, like when I went through this period.
Her bad choices are nothing compared to mine. She is an angel.
That's another story. Well, my bad choices, I'm like, why did God see me fit for this role? But he knows my heart.
Yes, he does.
And, the enemy would want me to focus on those bad choices and my past and everything. I don't even recognize that person anymore. I have to look at where I'm at now and look forward. But I think what the Lord saw was that I will talk to him about anybody. I will stand on my faith. He's my firm foundation. And I just have a heart for people. And I think he sees that. I love people. And I would rather love them like Jesus than.
So the road to becoming a pastor's wife was very smooth, and it happened very quickly, didn't it?
Are you talking about our relationship?
Yes, I am.
No, it's horrible. No.
This is another story of faith and of perseverance and sticking with what God has told you. And I want her to share this. And
See, I like it. Stacia said, I'm an unpastory pastor's wife too. That's why I love Stacia. She was one of my very good friends, and I just adore her. And she is an awesome pastor's wife. So
there it is.
Oh, hi, Stacia.
Okay. So the road was smooth.
You want me to talk about our testimony?
I do.
Oh gosh. Okay. So some of my friends know the relationship with John. When I was first, I had really, my walk with the Lord had gotten, we were pretty tight, me and Jesus. So anyways, I was in the dating process, and I really wanted to find somebody that had a heart for the Lord like I did. And I was in a relationship at the time and praying about it, about where to go. And as I'm praying, and I don't know how to describe like when you hear from God, because it's not an audible voice. I just had this,
you knew,
like he calls it a download, like this word. I know it wasn't from me.
Yeah, it's a download.
But it was.
It's a knowing.
It's like this knowing, and because it had to be him.
You just know that you know that you know that what you're feeling and thinking is true and from God.
Yes. So, anyways, I was praying about what to do with this relationship. I wanted a relationship that really glorified the Lord and was where I was supposed to be. Like at this time, I was putting everything in prayer, everything I need to do, what direct me, Lord. So he had told me, this is real. I mean, I have a couple of friends that can back this up. I said, it was, you're going to go out your door and you're going to take a left and you're going to go down the Ohio Turnpike and you're going to meet a pastor. And I'm like, I don't even know anybody over there. And I was praying about somebody else. And so I remember I called my friend. I'm like, oh, guess what I just heard. And we laughed about it. And so like 9 months later, I did Christian Mingle for a while, because when you're in a small town, that's the only way you can really meet people. So I was on Christian Mingle, and this really cute guy messaged me, and I responded, and we started talking, and it didn't even dawn on me. I mean, I knew he was a pastor and he lived that direction, but it didn't. I was just so jaded at this time dating. I was done. Like he was actually the last person I was going to talk to, because I was just done. And I remember telling the Lord, even with Christian Mingle, it's like, I don't want it to be about a dating site. I want it to be about you, and just a wonderful testimony of a relationship that I can share with people, that I knew that God brought me together with this person. So anyways, I went out my door and I took a left and I drove down the Ohio Turnpike, and I met a pastor, and for 4 years. And I remember my family telling me, and my friends, and it took a few months for me to even figure out that it was him that the Lord was talking about. So anyways, for 4 years, I did that every other weekend. And there's times I was yelling at God again, and I was like, oh, Amy's back. She's yelling at me again. And we had like every 3 months, we'd have like a conversation about he liked me, but he didn't know what he could give me. And so I really had to pray about it. And I remember one day I was in my bathroom just crying, because he was living his life here. I would hear from him sometimes, and he was out having a good time. And I just cried, because I knew in my heart he was the one for me. And the Lord said, this is why I told you about him, so you would know this is from me.
Yeah, because he told you even more than the direction.
Yeah, he told me I would be your soft place to fall, your wisdom, your prayer partner. And a lot more, too. Yeah. And then when I first told him, I made the mistake of telling him that Jesus told me, and he like, you didn't know what to think of that. So, so it was 4 years of praying for him. And I'd asked for, it's funny, the one time I asked for a sign, because I said, if this is not the guy for me, just take him away. I can't do this. And I remember, again, that not that audible voice, but just that he'll be a fisher of men. He'll be a fisher of men. He'll be a fisher of men. And so I got to John's house, and he was laying on the couch, and he goes, I need to change into something more comfortable. And but prize claw when, Aaron. So anyways, he went downstairs, changed into his shirt, and he comes back up, and it says Fisher of Men on it. And I just laughed. I'm like, okay, thank you, Jesus.
Hyman bought me, or either Bonnie Hyman or Craig Sanford.
So
one of the two.
When you ask the Lord for, I guess, I don't want to say signs, but sometimes when you ask God, you know, can you give me direction? Can you show me? He will do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes, he will.
Finally, he came around. The Lord was able to, I guess, restore his heart.
I needed some healing. Yeah.
He needed healing, and it was worth.
And it's been worth every minute of it.
I mean, it's been
great.
It's been really good. I don't think we haven't had a fight. We've been together 5.5 years and haven't had a fight. Now, granted, he's very understanding. He's like, you're an awesome communicator. You put up with, and I don't get mad, but you are very good to just kind of.
Well, sometimes you get irritable.
Tune me out. Well, yeah, but you get a little bit.
I get a little feisty too. Okay. You are passionate about a lot of different things, and the passions that you have, God has clearly planted in your heart.
Yeah.
And he's planted them in your heart for the body of Christ, you know, and it's just so clear that you have a passion and a voice to speak to certain things in the church and to the world.
Yeah.
Could you share some of the things that you're passionate about?
Passionate, like the marriages.
Yes.
Marriage is really important to me. I think a good, healthy marriage, I think a lot of times that our focus is our kids, which our kids are super important. But I think investing in our marriages, having that foundation for our kids is so valuable. It is. And I would love to I see couples going different directions, and I would love to see couples coming together, especially in this time that we're all stuck together. And I know it's not easy. I talked to our ladies group not too long ago about marriage relationships. I guess if I could say anything, it's like, men, take your wives out on dates. You need to do that. Ladies, give your husband the same attention that you give your girlfriends. Girls night out, and the guys, are you giving your husband that same attention? Are you excited to see him? Men, do you give her a reason to be excited to see you? So I think date nights and just value in your spouse is extremely important. And I have to remind myself that, and especially I always remind myself that, I never want to take him for granted. You don't realize how valuable somebody is until you don't have them anymore. And I had that with my mom. Like I said, you don't know the value of somebody necessarily until you don't have them. And then you can't get those days back. So that's one thing I'm really passionate about. And then ministry on our Facebook page. It's like, I love.
She has built quite a following on our Facebook page for a church of our size. It's absolutely amazing. And she was just talking about it the other day, that she didn't know why she was so passionate about building up that following on Facebook. And she's built it up. I mean, we have over 1,400 followers on our Facebook page. And then all of a sudden, guess what? The coronavirus shut down. And here we are reaching. I mean, it's unbelievable the reach that we've had through our Facebook page. Aww. to the community. It's
love you, Linda.
Literally, it's literally it's 10, sometimes almost 20 times the audience because of the work that she had done on the Facebook page. She saw it. God gave her a passion for it. And she literally calls the people on our Facebook page her people. I know my people. And I know what I need to send them and when I need to send it to them.
Yeah.
She's got like a pastor ministry.
Well,
it's really cool though. You have a real passion for it.
Well, the reason I love Facebook, what it's done, our page, so it was supposed to be a ministry page for to get information out about our church and stuff. And we do that. But I noticed there's so many people that aren't in church, that don't hear about the Lord, that don't know that he loves them, and that there's hope, and that there are... Quite, you're distracting me. See, this is the problem. You distract me. Anyway, what this was when I post something on Facebook. Okay, it'll either be about the church or it's something that touched my heart, and I want people to see that. So when it goes out on the news feed, if somebody's only seeing negative things, and then somebody shares something about hope or about the love of Jesus, it breaks up that negative monotony, and you never know who you're reaching. And I just have a heart for people that don't know, that feel lost and alone, and don't know that how much God loves them. I mean, they're turning away. They think he hates them. They think he is a reason for anything bad in this world. And it's like, he's the reason for everything good in this world. Yeah, you know, it's that's who you run to, and that's who you side with, and that's who you partner with. I've lived in that life of not being with him. And it's, you know, it's funny. When I had started my relationship back with him really tight, I went out with a couple of friends for a night. I thought, oh, this will be my last night out. You have a good time. And just, it was just so uncomfortable to me. I could see, it's like my eyes were open, and I could see I just went, as soon as I got back home, I had my worship music back on and stuff. And it's like, you know, if your eyes are always dark and your ears are closed, you don't know the goodness and the light that's out there. And I think the reason I share my faith so much is I know that every person, you know, that we are all going to die. We are all going to not be here anymore. It's going to be our last day. And I think about my friends or people I love that have passed on. One of my first thoughts is, oh my gosh, what are they experiencing in heaven? You know, what is that like? I think about that. And then for people that don't know the Lord, it just breaks my heart, because regardless if you believe in him, doesn't change the fact that he's there. And I'm surprised at how many people just say, well, I don't believe in God. It's like, if my salvation depended on that, I would do everything to make sure that, is God real or not? And I guess whatever conclusion you come up to, but a lot of people just decide that he's not real, and that's it. And then I think you know, so I just, anybody that's in my life, I'm thankful all my good friends have a relationship with the Lord. My families have relationships with the Lord. My daughters do. But my heart goes out for these people, because I hate the idea of standing there one day and saying, you know what, I heard about him, and I didn't do anything about it. You know, that just, that bothers me. I love people. I mean, I can't imagine God's heart for people. If I care about people, you know, what as a father, his care and love and concern for others. I wasn't going to cry, honey.
Well, you're full of love, honey. You can't help it. And they're not tears of sadness, they're tears of love and care. Would you be willing to take some questions? We have about 15 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to go through and pull up some of the comments that are floating through. Look at this one.
You mean you should give a marriage? Thanks, Libby. I would love to. They actually, the men's group invited me to speak sometime.
She's going to be a guest speaker of men's group.
Do you know what I'm going to say? I do love
I do. Men. You tell me all the time.
Oh, Patty. I love Patty.
Oh, there you go.
Oh. You guys are so sweet. Thank you. I'm just starting the men's fellowship night.
Oh, Darla.
Oh, thanks, Darla.
Let's see.
The Erin's been on there making comments. I don't know what she's saying. I hope somebody's keeping track of her.
There's Linda.
I know. Linda's been, you know, again, through all of the things I've been through, I've had the greatest friends. Linda's part of my friend group from Pioneer, and she's just the best. I mean, she's an amazing woman. My great friends from when I grew up in school. Yeah, Aaron. That was.
Do you want to explain that?
Aaron gave a speech during our wedding, and she told John that I was the big win in the prize claw machine. Is very romantic, very sweet. So that's where we get that. So
yeah.
But my friends have just been amazing, and my family's amazing. Aw, thanks, Patty. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying. I'm glad that people have grace. I'm learning. One thing I've learned as a pastor's wife, because I think I have a fun sense of humor, and I've had to dial it back. Like things I might want to post, I have to think, what would the people say? So I can't always post and say what, but yeah, I've had to calm down. So
okay, let's see if we've got any other.
Deidre.
Here we go.
Thanks, Deidre. Okay, I've been trying to convince Jim to go to men's group, pray for it to work. I know the men's group has been phenomenal.
It's been
at
unbelievable.
Church. He started
it's really
that.
Cool. I'll just plug for it. The guys are just so real, and we have grown to love each other so much. And it's an awesome group, a great bunch of friends and a great bunch of guys. And we have a deep connection, and any guy could come in and be a part of it. And it's a lot of fun too. We do some fun stuff. So
I want to go.
There's a lot of power in that group. When we pray, there is great power.
I do want to go shout out my Aunt Lori and my Grandma Bly are watching from Florida, and we were supposed to leave next week to go see them, and we can't. And my grandma, she's 98. She's gonna be 99 in May, and I love her dearly. I wish we could see you.
We're sorry, Olive. We'll try to get down there. We'll try.
We're trying.
We'll see you again. Okay.
Aw. Everybody is so good to me. Thank you for having faith. I was getting nervous the more people that I saw were watching it.
You made Linda tear up. Look at this.
Crying, you guys. I wasn't going to post it on my Facebook because I get so nervous.
We love you, Christina.
Aw.
But
just, everybody has a testimony. Everybody has something that the Lord has done. And, that's what builds faith when we share.
Yes, it does.
What he's done.
Testimonies build faith.
And I'm hoping that all those.
Because if he'll do it for you and he'll do it for me, he'll do it for anybody.
Well,
he is not one who we're special.
No.
He just loves us.
Well, what I think.
He loves you.
It's
not. He just loves the world, and he wants to show his goodness to the world.
Well, one thing
so wants to do that.
I would say for people that are feeling like God isn't with me or he doesn't love me or any of those things, like he said, we're not anyone special, but you need to tune in. You need to, he will direct your path, but you got to be listening. You got to be having a communication with him, some kind of relationship. It's really hard for him to steer you when there's no prayer life or there's no scripture reading or there's no seeking him and there's living life just crazy. I mean, it's really hard. He wants to do something. And I tell you what, there's many more blessings when you're in that because he opens doors and he gives you, it's just phenomenal. I wouldn't be with him if I wouldn't have turned. Who knows where I'd be? I don't know. And now I'm here, and it's been wonderful, and we've been blessed, and I have the best church.
We're great.
And I love
a great church family.
We have a great church. I love our church family.
So in wrapping this up, what considering the times that we live in, what advice would you give the believers that are on this site? What advice would you give them as they this challenging time?
Well, you're here. Me, I've been challenged. I mean, we're human too, and I'm trying to do. I have to look at our blessings. I mean, we've been hit hard with this. We have 4 kids. Well, 3 are in college. One's in ministry school. One's a senior. The only one that's doing really well from this is the freshman, and she has like all of her homework done, and she's just been on cloud 9. But with every other kid, it's affected us. And so I really have to, I mean, again, like even our trip to Florida, our first trip, my girls haven't been there 6 years, has been canceled. So I can either focus on those things and don't think, sometimes I bring them up. I do. I have to focus on, okay, we're all healthy. We have enough food. We have enough. We're okay with our finances.
Thankful.
There's different things. I have to focus on those and just know that this isn't
That's right.
forever. And we will
give thanks.
That's all you can do. And it's hard. And today we did a drive-through prayer time, which was really nice. We got to see some of our Brighton people. And, you know,
we'll be there. By the way, we'll be there tomorrow from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. If you'd like to come through, we want to bless you and pray for you. And of course, say hi to you.
Yeah. So, but I think how you can help people, how you can pray for people, you have to get out of your, I think that was one thing, like when my mom passed away, I could either internally focus and be a victim and poor me, or you can go and, okay, what can I do? Because I don't want to live a life of self-pity and sadness and all that. And so I think reaching out and reaching others and doing what you can do and focusing on later and just trying to stay positive instead of keeping that negativity inward. But again, I have my moments. He helps balance me out. So he does is like,
I'm good. I'm rolling, man. The Lord is really moving during these days. So I'm just trying to stay with it. Okay. Well, we love you guys, and we will be back here Sunday morning. I'll be back to bring a message for you. And then Sunday night, we're going to have a time of prayer and share. And we can even do some question and answer if you'd like. It's kind of like a fellowship time. And we'll actually be doing prayers over any prayers that come in. And but this Wednesday night is a testimony time to encourage you all. Be strong in your faith during these days. The Lord is faithful and true. He's doing great things, and he will do great things for you and in your life. Just do what he tells you and what he gives you to do with all your heart unto him, and rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. This is Pastor John and Amy signing out.
We love you guys.
Have a good night.
Bye.